So today we're going to talk about estimating. So in your lesson, it's going to have you review rounding. So when we round, we remember that we look for our target number. Then, so if we do an example rounding problem, if I want to round 56,837 to the nearest thousands place, I look for my number in the thousands place. That's the 6. So I'm going to circle that. That's my target number. That's the number that could change. The neighbor I look at is always my neighbor on the right, so my neighbor is 8. 5 or above is bossy, 4 or below is nice. So I know an 8 means that's a bossy neighbor. My bossy neighbor tells my target number to move it on up. So my 6 moves up to a 7. Anything before my target number stays the same. So that stays a 5. Anything after my target number turns to a 0. So 56,837 rounded to the nearest thousands place is 57,000. So your lesson is going to have you review some rounding, but then it's also going to bring in this thing called estimating. So in estimation, it's a thoughtful guess. So it's not going to be the exact answer, and that's okay. That's what it's asking you to do. But it's not just a random answer. You don't just think of a number that sounds good. It's thoughtful. And you use rounding at each step to help you find your estimation. So we're going to do a problem together to talk through this. You have a couple in your lesson. So our example problem, it says Sally did 412 crunches on Monday, 263 on Tuesday, and 337 Wednesday. To the nearest 100, about how many did she do? So when I look at word problems, a lot of times they give me things that I don't really need to know. They try and confuse me. So I want to go through, and first I want to look at my numbers. And I'm going to draw a square around my numbers because it's math. Numbers are important. So I see that she did 412. She did 263, and she did 337. Those are my 3 numbers. So I know that when it comes down to it, these are the 3 numbers I need to know. It also tells me that's going to help with my estimation and what to round to. It tells me my place value. It says to the nearest 100. So I know my numbers. I know what place I am going to. Now I need to decide what operation. Am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? So she did this many Monday, this many Tuesday, this many Wednesday. It says about, this word about lets me know that it's an estimation, that I'm not finding an exact answer. How many did she do? So I want to know a total. So I'm not going to divide. I'm not going to subtract. Something just fell in the classroom. I'm not going to multiply, and I'm going to add to find that total. So I have my numbers. I know I'm going to the nearest hundreds place, and I know that I'm adding to find that. So when you do a problem like this, you come down here and you write all of your numbers out. Because if I were finding an exact answer, I would add all of those up like that. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm not finding an exact answer, but it is important for me to see these numbers. This little, I know I'm going for about. It looks kind of like an equal sign, but they're squiggly lines. That means about in math. So this sign, I'm going to move the camera a little bit closer so you can see that. That sign means about. 412 is about. 263 is about. 337 is about. So now I'm going to round each of these numbers to the nearest 100. So I circle my number in my hundreds place. That's my target number. And I look at my neighbor on the right. A 1, is that bossy or nice? It's a nice neighbor. So it tells my 4, you can stay, and everything behind it turns to a 0. So to the nearest 100, 412 is about 400. My next one, let me get another marker so the colors don't run together. 263. 2 is my target number. 6 is my neighbor. I know that 6 is a bossy neighbor. So it tells my 2, move it on up. My 2 has to move up to a 3. Everything behind it turns to a 0. Notice, I didn't add all of this and get an exact answer and then estimate. Estimation is a thoughtful guess with rounding at each step. I have to round each of these numbers before I can add them. Now my last one, 337 is about how many? The 3 is my target number. I look at my neighbor 3. I know that my neighbor 3 is nice. It tells my 3 in the hundreds place, you can stay, and everything behind it turns to a 0. So on Monday, Sally did about 400 crunches. On Tuesday, Sally did about 300 crunches. On Wednesday, Sally did about 300 crunches. So now that I have all of those numbers, now I can add them up to figure out about how many crunches Sally did. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. I put my 0. If I were to carry my 1, it would go ahead and come down. So 400 plus 300 plus 300 is 1,000. So if you remember RDW, or read, draw, write problems from 3rd grade, maybe 2nd grade, you know that we read the problem, we've done the D, the draw, we've done the work. Now, since it's a word problem, we answer in a sentence. So my question, about how many did she do? Sally did about 1,000 crunches. She did about 1,000 crunches. I need to put the word about. That's important because I've estimated. I've made a guess. That is not the exact answer. So when you estimate, make sure you figure out your numbers. They're important. What place value it wants you to go to. Sometimes it might not tell you the place value, so you have to think of which one would give you the most accurate estimation. And then figure out, am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? You have to round at each step to find your answer.